to go a little bit in a different direction today because I need you to be able to see the crate in the background. Okay. I think that should be good. Let me make sure it's, yeah, it's about where we want it. Okay. I'm going to give folks a minute to join us, and then we will start the third class in our series of impulse control classes. If you are here, please let me know. I'm going to be, as usual, using my phone to look for any questions. You can ask them in real time. If I don't get to them in the moment, I will go back and look at them at the end. Another thing I want you to do, if we're going to review everything this time, but I'd like you to tell me some of the things that you did for the Smart 50 activity. So if you've been doing Smart 50, why don't you tell me some of the ways in which you found that useful, and let me know if your dog is starting to predict that offering the behaviors you want will pay off. So let me know you're here, and let me know at some point during the class if you're using Smart 50, how it's going, if you have questions, and if some of the behaviors you're looking for, you're seeing your dog offer on their own. And we'll wait just a couple more minutes. Oops, I do that every time. Oh, also, is anyone hearing that fan noise that we heard last week on the Q&A? Can you guys let me know if the audio seems okay before we get started? Otherwise, I can kind of fool with it. Okay, so again, let me know if you're here. If you've been doing Smart 50, let me know how it's going and what kinds of things you've been doing with it. And also, if your dog is starting to predict what behaviors may earn them a treat and just offering up those behaviors. Okay, the audio seems better. Awesome. Okay, so I want to go over a few of the things that we've already taught, and that way you can ask me questions if you're struggling with any of them. So again, this is a building class, so I want to make sure that we have those foundations really strong before we move on to the next level of a lot of these items. So obviously you should have charged your marker word or sound, and you should have chosen a release word. If you want to write your release word in the comments, that might be helpful as well. You have started to work on impulse control with regard to food coming to your dog's face from all different directions and all different levels of excitement, right? So that is going to be something that we're going to build on today. And you have started to work on the Say Please program, kind of sitting and having them wait for things, as well as wait at the food bowl. So if anyone's had trouble with any of those items, let me know. And what I want you to do is continue to build up the amount of seconds that your dog is waiting prior to being released to eat the food. Okay, so today we are going to work on your dog waiting for treats in your flat hand. In this case, and in some of the other cases, we use something called the Premack principle, which means that a dog will work for a less desirable outcome as long as they know that they're doing that for a an outcome that is higher. I don't know, I'm drawing a blank, but higher value. So they will work at a rate that's low value reward when they know that there's a good probability that they will receive a a higher value reward later. So Premack principle at work for the exercise we're going to do right now, which is waiting for food in an open hand. So I know that some of you are just going to watch these without training your dog and go back and train your dog later. That's fine. Remember that the videos are recorded. So if you want to watch and then go back and look at the videos and pause as you're doing the exercise with your dog, that's fine. Or if you want to train your dog during the videos, that's fine too. Either way works great. I know there's for sure, I know looking at who's attending, there's one of each in there right now. So we're going to start with, I want you to have a low value and high value food. So for Sesame, I'm using some kibble. He finds kibble very high value though. So that's it, but I don't have anything lesser value. I mean, Cheerios are still high value for him. So we're gonna use his kibble, and I have higher value treats in my pocket if I need them, in my this. These are great, by the way. These are by PetSafe. I don't get any compensation for talking about PetSafe products, but they're spring-loaded, so you can kind of do that, which makes it great for training, because I know a lot of times I'm like running around training them, doing things like with distraction work, and it's easy to close and open these, which is great. Oh, you okay? He had a little something in his throat there. Okay, so if you don't have it, Renegade low value items like maybe kibble in a bowl and a higher value treat. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and dig in. If you've taken classes with me before, this activity may look like one of the ways I teach the leave it command, but that's not what we're doing here. So we're not going to use the word leave it. We're not going to use any command for this. Just like when they were waiting for the food to come at them quickly and keeping, all four paws on the floor without rushing in. So this is going to look in the first few steps like how I teach leave it in some of my classes. It's not. We're going to do a default leave it later. This is prepping for that. So no, this isn't leave it. I know that some of you may have worked with me before and you've trained it that way. That's great. This just won't have a word on it because it's going to end at the end. It's going to be different. So I want you to take a handful of kibble. As much as definitely won't fall out of your hand. That would be not good. And this exercise is teaching them to wait for food and treats in your flat hand. So you can also practice by feeding them dinner this way. All right, so let me see where I need to move. Let's come. I was late to mark that sit. His recall command also has a sit on the end of it, so I should have marked that. But okay, so you're going to have your higher value food sitting somewhere else. So I always like to say, keep the high value food on the counter, and you're sitting next to the counter. You can even sit in a chair and have that on the kitchen table, or however you'd like to do it. I'm going to keep mine here. I would typically put it on that bookcase, but the way I have the camera set up, I'm going to keep it here. So lower value kibble, higher value food, Premack principle. Okay. So, and the mechanics with this are difficult if you're using a clicker, but I love the folks using a clicker because it's a more precise way of marking behavior. So basically I'm going to hold the handful of food in front of his mouth. I'm going to wait until he disengages from the food. He's going to look, he may paw it, he's going to nibble at my fingers. The moment he looks away, I'm going to mark and reward with the higher value food. So he'll just get bored at some point. I love that Sesame doesn't know a lot of things, so that you can see what it's really like to teach a dog, rather than this dog that's perfectly trained. Disengaged, so I'm going to follow that with a high value food. Okay, so we're just going to do it again. looking at the high value food, so I'm gonna kind of put that behind my back. You see that tail going? If your dog's not having fun, you're not doing it right. So he looked away, he's watching his eyeballs carefully. At this point, he doesn't have to turn his head or anything. He's just learning. So he's starting to ignore all that. Don't resist the urge to pull your hand away. You want to leave it right where it is because you want him to have the opportunity to back off. Keep going. He might go through their repertoire like that. He's trying to offer his foot forward now to him. He stopped. The moment he stopped, you can catch that. If you have time to mark that, great. I'm going to move it over here a little bit. So you'll see. You'll see that he's starting to learn to not to engage with this. That is my alarm to remind myself to be calm that I have set for every day, which I think is a fabulous idea. See, he's learning that by looking away from the low value food, he's going to be offered a piece of high value food. So just keep going. He's actually just backing off. He's not looking away at this point. That's not the behavior I'm looking for. Remember, my timing getting the food to him doesn't have to be right quickly after he's produced the behavior I'm looking for, because the marker is happening at that point, giving me like a couple seconds before I need to get the treat to him. I'll give that to him because he looked at me. Great job, buddy. He didn't go for it at all, so I'm going to mark that. Now I'm going to change it up a little bit and try to and just do it from this side. Where do I need to be? There we go. So once you change it, they may forget, and they need a second to remember what we're doing. The moment they look away, reward. See how he's just not even engaging with it at all. That's what we want. Okay, second step. Before I even talk about this step, you're going to have to resist the urge to pull your hand away. See how I said in this step, leave your hand there and don't pull it away? With this one, it's going to be much difficult. You're going to want to pull your hand away. Don't. So what I'm going to do now, he's like, I'm going to put the kibble, the low value food, in my open hand. If he goes for it, I'm going to leave my hand where it is, but close it. He needs to back off with that hand open, and I will mark and give him a high value treat from my waist tag. He needs to back off on his own. Like, it needs to be open without him going for it and making the decision not to go for the food. That was freakishly quick that he did that, so I'm guessing that was a fluke. Make sure you have the food right in front of his reach. Don't have it like up here where he's not going to get it anyway. He has to be making the choice not to go for it. Keep going with that. And make him wait with this plus 1 second. 1/1000. Switch him around to the other side, kind of switch it up for him. He doesn't need to be rewarded for the sit because we've already built that up to where he's fluent. He's generalized it and he's now in maintenance. Okay, open hand again. My hand's closed because he's not backing up yet. This is all just normal learning process. Don't get frustrated with them. They're doing it the way they should be doing it. Open, he's going to go back in again. Open. It's open, he makes the choice not to go in. Mark and reward with a higher value food. Oh, I like that, how he actually looked away. We're going to use that later and build that up. Making the choice not to go for it. And marking and rewarding. That's a tough one, but he did it. And we're not putting a word on this, remember, it's just from now on, if there's treats and they're going to be handed out of the hand, they don't go for it. So there's no need to put a command because it's just every time. Okay, now that they are doing that, now he's doing that, the hand is not going to close again unless he goes in for the food. Okay, so flat hand. And the treat I'm going to give him pick up the higher value treats now and mix them with the kibble that you have. So it's going to look like that. So some high value, some low value. Okay. All right. So the hand stays open unless they go in for it now. It's open, he's not going for it. I'm going to mark and pick up that food from that hand and give it to him. So again, it's open, he's not going for it. The only way he could, goes back up again. Make him wait a little longer. He went forward. I don't like that, so I'm going to shape it back into where you don't move your muscles forward. And the reason he's doing that is because I've marked it, so he's waiting for the reward. I want him just to have patience. The reward gets to you when I get my hand to you. So again, building on that exercise where we had them stay still while we were bringing food. While we were bringing food to their mouth. So we're building on that. I'm not saying anything, he just has to wait, and he gets the food when I bring it to his mouth, not when he goes in for the food. He's got to sit tight where he is. We're going to move it around. This is my really quick attempt at showing you how to generalize. But what you're going to do is you're going to move it to all areas of your house. Once it's built up there, you're going to move it to outside, but in a low distraction environment. Then you're going to move it outside. So you really want to build this up. Well, all of the impulse control activities, you want to work on them that way. So Remember, the building up part is distance, duration, distraction. So maybe the first thing you decide to work on out of those is the amount of time he's got to wait before you mark and reward. The second thing might be, I don't know, distraction. So maybe you're just like, you know, he's going to go in for it, right? Oh, he did it again. Come front. Come front. That's not come front. Come front. Okay, so we're going to do the open hand one again right here. Sorry, I'm over this side. And you'll notice that when you start in a new place, they need a refresher. We'll make it wait a little longer and move my hand. And that's it. So from now on, when they have food, they're waiting for it. They're not jumping up at it. Whether they're waiting for their food bowl, they're waiting for their food dispensing toy, or they're waiting for a treat or food out of your hand. That's a nice come front, thank you. Well, kind of a side come front. Let me check for questions, and then we'll move on to calm greetings. A great way to practice this is with their breakfast and dinner. You can just take handfuls and work through it, handfuls and work through it. Okay, looking for questions. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is calm greetings. Which we're going to build up later to calm greetings when people come to the door, when they meet people at the doorway, because the doorway is like a hot spot for dogs going crazy and jumping. But again, it's going to build on today's calm greeting thing. So you're going to be inside, hopefully, with your family, because you're probably stuck inside with your family anyway. You're going to have your dog on leash, have high-value treats in the other hand. You're going to cue a sit, feed him while he's sitting next to you, and add a stay until released. So basically do that. So I'm going to show you if you're just one person at home, if it's just one person. So come. Okay, so I have this tether. This is just a 6-foot leash attached to a crate. You can attach it to whatever you have to attach it to. If you don't have a leash with a double clip, you can use a carabiner to clip your leash to something. Okay, so you're just going to clip your dog to it for now. And you're going to ask them to sit and stay. As you approach, you're going to start feeding them food while they are sitting, and then you're going to mark it when you walk to turn away. So they have to keep their butt down. So it'll look like this. Okay. And feed him food while he's sitting there. I'm going to give him a weight. To make it more difficult. Now he's a chill dog. He doesn't really jump that much. So your dog may start jumping when you do that, and you'll have to build it up slowly. Make sure that you're only asking them to do what you're pretty sure they'll be successful with, and if they're unsuccessful, it just means you need to back it up a step, back up the criteria. So that's kind of how you'll do it with. Okay, so he wasn't 6 months, he didn't stay, he's on the end of his leash, so I'm going to move him back. In front. give him a weight again. Weight. I'm just going to work on coming up to him. Try to relax your body as you do this. Sometimes we do it like, that's not teaching them because regular people on the street aren't going to do that. So. Okay. Now, since I gave him the weight, I need to release him. So we're done with that small portion of what it's going to look like when you're on your own. So I'm going to release him. Okay. And the release word should be the same word with everything we're doing right now. It should be like for weight at the food bowl, I use okay. So that's why I said it in that context. Okay. So if it's 2 people, which will be easier, you're going to have him on a leash, food in the other hand. Okay. So it's going to look like this. Now, it can be a 4 or 6 foot leash, it doesn't matter. We're going to pretend like that sunspot is where a person will be. Okay, so we're just going to walk over to it. Wait, and as the person starts approaching, we're just going to feed food to get him to keep his butt there. If at any point his butt pops up, we just do a little circle and come back. Woo. He's trying to go on that side because that's his real side. Woo. Get back into position. Come on. Okay, you can see him. Okay, so person starts approaching. I've given him weight. They keep approaching. They keep approaching. They keep approaching, they keep approaching. They turn, mark and reward. So they say they're turning now, mark and reward. So as they're walking away, the dog's not going to be as excited to jump up. Only when they're coming towards them. When they're walking away, they're just going to be like, oh, okay. So they're getting treats for sitting there. You keep sneezing. He's like, keep sneezing. They're getting treats for sitting there in the weight. And some people use the word stay for that. I like to use wait because it's telling them they're only going to be there for a short time. Feed them the whole time they're sitting there, and as the person turns away, mark and reward. So you're gonna swap the leashes, starting very, very small. So you're gonna build that up with, again, distance, duration, distraction. Come. With distance, duration, and distraction. So build it up to where the person's like, skipping along, or where just like kind of like I did there. And then you switch leashes. Who's holding the leash and who's holding the food. Then slowly, as they're successful, start to give less and less treats as they're sitting there. So then maybe say, like, the next time we do it, we're going to only give, he's going to be sitting there, and we're just going to give him 2 treats as the person's approaching. And then when the person turns away, we mark and reward. So we're going to do this in building up the amount of time they're staying there. At first, the person's just walking over, turning and walking away. Then maybe the first person's shaking your hand and then walking away. Then the next time, maybe they're talking and walking away. The next time, maybe they're skipping up and walking away. And again, if your dog pops up, they're not in trouble. It means you have to back it up 1 step. So the person walks away. You just walk in a little circle, come back. 1 cue to sit, 1 cue to wait, and pick up where you left off, or make it 1 step easier. Okay, so once your dog can remain calm, you're doing this only inside for now. Once your dog can remain calm with that, get rid of the leash. So the leash goes away, and they're just sitting next to you in a sit and wait. So it'll look like this. Okay, so person's approaching. I'm only going to give him 2 treats. We're shaking hands. Oh, here's another treat. And then the person turns to walk away, mark, reward. Okay. And then you might decide to walk over and do it over here. the person's approaching, maybe this time I'll just give them one because they're only going to talk to me. They turn to walk away, mark, and reward. So, the next step after this is coming to the door. So we're going to talk about waiting at the door, which we kind of covered it, but we're going to cover door dashing. But I want you to start working up to waiting at the door with this. So it'll look like this. That's my bathroom door, so I'm just going to use that. I might have to use the kitchen door, but. What are you all the way over there? What's all the way over there? Come. Okay, so you're going to give him the wait. Start to do this. If this was an exterior door of my house, he'd probably pop up, although he does this, but anyway, but for your dog, they might pop up. That's okay. Use the door back, 1 cue to sit, 1 cue to wait. Next time you might get to there before they pop up. Close it, 1 cue to sit, 1 cue to wait. Might get to there before they pop up. And you keep working at that till the door is totally open and they are not walking out of it. You're going to have them unleashed for this. So the door is completely open and they're not walking out of it. Okay, so you're going to build that up. You have to start with interior doors of the house because it's too risky for one, and because they're not going to be able to do it. It's too difficult. So start with interior doors of the house, maybe in and out of the bathroom, maybe in and out of your bedroom. So you're going to want to do that. Then you can work on taking, so once they've got that piece, so they've got the piece of the stranger coming and the piece of waiting at the door, you're going to take it outside. And you can start working outside with people you know, where they're still sitting and waiting. And then you can build it up to people you don't know. A lot of dogs wouldn't be able to run right into this cold, but because you're doing all of these other impulse control activities, they should pick this up relatively quickly. And then you're not saying anything to them at the point where you're taking it on the road. You can just give them the hand signal or look at them. And if they see that someone's coming close, the goal is that their butt hits the ground and they wait because they know there's going to be a treat. So at first you're giving them the cue, but over time, as soon as their butt hits the ground, mark and reward that. Then mark and reward when the stranger turns away. But at first you're starting super low, like maybe the person's just approaching and turning around and walking away. And again, we're not really calling this anything because we want this just to be tired pup. We want this just to be kind of what your dog does now. Okay, so next week we're going to wait to where there's a person at the door. So we're going to talk about, right now, the door is open, but there's no one there. And we're working on meeting a stranger kind of on leash or when someone's approaching. But a much more difficult thing to do is sit at the door when a stranger comes to it and goes to come in. So we've got to build to that, right? So we'll take these two sides and we'll put them together next week. Okay, so we did treats and food in a flat hand, and we did calm greetings. Does anyone have any questions? Go and check my phone here. Oh, and I can put this back up. And then check for questions now. Very burpy. Gates at the house instead of interior doors. Yep. But then if you're building up a gate, that's awesome, but then also use a door. Yes, dogs should always wait at baby case, especially if you're like a foster, you have multiple dogs, absolutely. And don't think that just because one can do it means the other one has to. Teach them in order of who is the worst gate rusher. So if one dog just bounds through the gate, start with him. He has to sit, he has to wait, door open, the other guys go through. And if he starts to get up, you just close it, whether they've gone through or not, and start back over again. Once he's got it, you do the next, save the easiest dog for last, basically, because then they're kind of modeling the behavior. Food motivated, not good. Can you expand on that, Maria? Are you saying the dog's not food motivated? If dogs aren't food motivated for commercial treats, I always like to recommend slicing up string cheese or getting just raw hot dogs and slicing them this way and down the side so you have like quarters. Another thing that we like to use is rotisserie chickens that you can buy already cooked. You can take those home and make little pieces of them and throw them in Ziploc bags and throw that all in the freezer and take one Ziploc bag out as you need it. So try that. The other thing is makes me wonder if you are free feeding your dog, meaning you put the food bowl down and they can kind of graze. We don't want that for several reasons. We want the food bowl to be down for 15 minutes or 20 minutes and then take it up. You can't tell if your dog isn't feeling well and there's something making him not have an appetite. And also we want to use that valuable resource, right? They need food to survive. So we want to use that with our training. So what I recommend doing is putting the food bowl down breakfast and night for 15 minutes. If the dog doesn't eat it, you take it up. Too bad. Put it on top of the fridge. Next mealtime, put that food bowl down again. You're going to feel awful, but after a few times of doing that, your dog's going to go and eat the food. That is going to make your dog more food motivated because you'll be able to train when your dog is hungry. So like maybe a little bit before dinner. Obviously, if it's gone on and he's missed too many meals, consult the vet or give it back, and you'll have to maybe have a private consult with me to discuss alternatives. But that stuff should work. The other thing, Maria, that after seeing that some of what else you said, for some dogs they are toy motivated. So like with him, he's squeaky toy motivated, but he hasn't perfected his drop it yet. So we're not using toys with him. But if your dog, a lot of times, like if your dog likes to tug or something like that, you can mark the behavior and then kind of give him a tug, and then continue on. Some dogs are affection motivated. So you would still use your marker, right? But you could mark and then good boy, and then move on. So there are other things that you can do to reinforce that's not food. You're just gonna have to kind of play around with it and see what your dog likes and doesn't like. So hopefully that helps. All right, guys. So in 15 minutes at 6, I have the live Q&A. So if you think of other questions, you can ask it there. Okay, so I hope it was a good class. As usual during this time, the content is pay what you feel appropriate or free if you need it. Don't worry about it if you can't pay right now. PayPal and Venmo are in the description of this class. All right, take care. Happy training.